Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Migrant Thought Podcast. This is Matt. You may hear some dogs in the background because my pups are sleeping. I'm slowly going insane or sane in an insane world. This is Zhakaron. Say hi, Zerk.
Howdy, y'all.
Rowan.
Hello.
And a very special guest, Josh from the Shoddycast. Say hi, Josh.
Greetings.
Okay.
Ooh, intimidating.
Yes, excellent.
All right.
I was trying to do a Parthenax thing there, you know.
Yeah.
I got a high pitched voice. It doesn't work very well.
I don't know.
Yes.
The guy who did Parthenax was actually the guy who did Mario, so anything's possible.
Oh, of course he. Of course, that doesn't surprise me one bit. That guy does a bajillion voices.
Yes.
So, how about you introduce a little bit of yourself, Josh?
Oh yeah, sure. So my name is Josh. I work with the Shoddy Cast over there on the YouTubes, and I guess you could say our bread and butter is lore. I'm a lore nerd myself. I would never call myself a lore master by any means, but I'm definitely enthusiastic about lore, and so most of our channel has been centered around that. Aside from that, we've been doing a lot of other things lately with primarily Bethesda games. If it's Bethesda, we cover it, and that's pretty much us.
All right. How about you do a little bit about yourself, Zerk, even though you keep showing up for some reason?
Yes, indeed. My name's Zhakaron. I do lore videos. I do modding videos. I do most of the stuff. If you notice the way Shoddycast tends to gravitate toward the newer games like Skyrim and stuff, I tend to gravitate more toward Arena, Daggerfall, Battlespire, Redguard, the earlier games in the franchise, going back to the roots. But we both basically cover the same spheres, as it were. Now, as far as modding goes, I make mod builds and then I present them to the community. That's about it. You guys?
I'm Matt. I do stuff when I plan to do it. I'm still building my templates for stuff, but it's going to be more journalism, editorial stuff. And this is Rowan. What do you do, Rowan?
Mostly I've got Fallout New Vegas that I just have wrapped up the main story with. Basically, I started off going for one of the hardest challenges in the game, at a loss for words. And then from there, I basically have gone to show how to get a quote unquote perfect game. So I'm kind of into min-maxing, trying to make the most advantageous character possible. And I've got some Fallout 4 with my fiance and a few other things on my channel.
All right.
I gotta
go ahead.
I gotta ask Rowan. Have you tried Tale of Two Wastelands yet?
I have it on my to-do list. Believe me, my to-do list is getting very long.
Yes. Do it. That's all I gotta say.
And Frontier's coming out.
There we go.
So
Even better.
I have no life. So let's move on to a little bit. So we're going to talk about Bethesda's Fallout 4 DLCs and related subjects like the price increase for the season pass and how touchy that is, and the the practice going around, or basically the hashtag where's the fair use, and we're going to discuss what this means for the future of YouTube, etc., and some funny things of how it goes. For example, Pokemon Company takes down a channel that has the music license from that company because they didn't look at it.
Doesn't surprise me.
All right, so basically, what were your guys' initial thoughts when you heard about the Fallout 4 DLCs and the season pass increase?
Well, we could start with Josh.
Oh yeah, sure. Gosh, I honestly wish I had a more fiery opinion about this because that would be way more fun. Yeah, season passes, things like that. I don't tend to get into much just because I don't know. There's a young version of Josh, and then now Josh in adulthood. Younger Josh would pre-order, get his hands on things as early as possible, and that would definitely be a season pass version of me. But I don't know, in my quote-unquote older age, I usually buy DLCs and stuff way later, and just games in general after they've released. I honestly can't remember the last time I paid full price on something, like a video game, just because I'll usually be patient about it and wait. So again, sorry I couldn't do an epic rant about season passes. I wish I could be that guy for you guys, but hopefully we can still be friends.
All right.
What about
Okay.
you, Rowan?
Well, so with video games in general, as Josh said, when I was younger, I'd be pre-ordering games because it was the fear of missing out. I didn't want to be that kid who didn't get the cool unlock because he didn't pre-order. Now it's like there's the market's being flooded with so many games. You can get games cheaper on Steam, like on a Steam sale, like a month, sometimes 6 months after it releases. It just doesn't make sense to be rushing out and getting it first. And typically they put so much like, downloadable content and unlocks that missing things just, it's like there's too much to miss anyway. So it's kind of where I'm sitting on the subject.
Zarek?
Okay, so I'm gonna backpedal a little bit. When Fallout 4 was originally announced, I was kind of doomsaying, saying that, like, based on Bethesda's current trend of streamlining, that this was going to suck. And I was wrong. Like, it's better than your average open world game. But in my opinion, I liked Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas better. And that's unfortunate. I'm looking at these DLCs now, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I gotta get them because all the mods, all the big overhauls are going to require them. And that's where I'm looking at, is the modding scene, because that's what makes Bethesda games, at least everything from Morrowind forward, great, is the modding scene. And I'm just waiting for the development kit and everything to come out so that we can start seeing some really good developments in terms of Fallout 4. And unfortunately, fortunately, I should say, I didn't have to pay for the season pass. I received it, and I am expected to review it. So that's what I will be doing.
All right. So my thoughts. So for the actual DLCs, I'm excited about them. My thoughts on season passes. There's two ways to look at them. For you to basically pay for the convenience of having it delivered to you, or if they leave it on there, it works as a pseudo Game of the Year edition, i.e. what I did for Bioshock Infinite. The season pass was left on there, and when a sale came on, I bought it and I got all the DLCs. So basically, this is what I thought when Bethesda announced it, and I heard they did it for the community, which was a little, okay, Bethesda, I have a little spiel written out here. So I'm going to read it off. They should have announced the pricing when the first DLC was, or they should have announced it when the first DLC was launched, like the actual pricing for the DLC, and just said they'll have one when they launch the game, like we're going to have a season pass, but we'll tell you more details later. And that way they would know what they had when they actually had the DLCs come out, so they don't have to deal with, we're going to increase the price because we know what we're doing now. What they did was they put out a promise, and then they changed their promise because they had more than what they planned. From a business standpoint, I understand this is the best way they could have done it, just because they want to put out more products, and they either could raise the price or they could have just said, okay, this DLC, if you buy it right now from this time period, then you will get all the DLCs, and then this will go away and a $50 DLC will show up, or through this whole time period while DLCs will come out, it's $30, and then after that, the season pass will increase to $50 moving forward when all the other DLCs are out. The real problem I had with it is they pitch it as if their loyal fans were there from this time frame because you were loyal. It'll be $30 until the end of February because you are loyal. Basically, what I saw is they're forcing people to buy it now or pay $50 deal, or $50 later. While it's still a good deal, my plan was to basically buy the season pass when the first DLC came out, but because it was $30, I had to go in and buy it and just have the convenience delivered to me. I was going to buy the season pass because I do still like Bethesda. Well, the attitude for Bethesda was, it was kind of poor in my opinion. They should have just been upfront and says, hey, we decided we're going to have more stuff. This is what's going on. We're going to be raising the price. If you buy it now, you get everything, and then the price is just raising. So that's what's going on moving forward. And that's basically my thought, as season passes should be more like contracts than gambles, i.e. what Austin did for his video on your channel, Josh. Hello?
Yes. Austin's rant video for season passes. Yeah. If you think about it, it's genius marketing on the part of Bethesda, or I don't want to say Bethesda. The developers have nothing to do with this. It's the suits at ZeniMax, right? the suits at ZeniMax were because people will spend money like there's no tomorrow if there's a deadline. If they can wait and wait and wait, we as human beings, we're natural procrastinators, so we'll wait for something like that. So even if we plan on buying a season pass, we'll wait till later. But that just put a fire under the ass of the entire Bethesda community, where it's like, okay, yes, buy it now before the price goes up. And oh gosh, that when that deadline rolled around, I can only imagine the price, the sales increase, man.
Yeah.
The suits
Yep.
at Bethesda must have been drooling over that money as it was coming in. I'm just imagining Angry Joe's, corporate villain guy that he does on his channel.
Yep.
What's his name again? His
Corporate Commander.
Corporate Commander. Yeah, Corporate Commander was loving it, man. Loving it.
Rowan?
The whole situation, like, I think of it if you go into a restaurant. This is what I picture. So you're going into a restaurant to buy a burger. There's a bunch of people in front of you ordering burgers to be delivered to their table. And the people in front of you all pay $5 for their burger. Suddenly the restaurant makes an announcement going, because the burgers are so packed of deliciousness today, we are unexpectedly raising the price to $10. Aren't you guys excited? Everyone that has already pre-ordered their burger got it for $5, but the rest of you, you're getting so much flavor. You get to pay $10, and they expect you to be excited and happy for paying that extra price increase for extra content. So that's when I heard their announcement. They sounded like, hey, you guys, be excited. We've got so much content coming out. We're raising the price, but don't worry about that price increase. The content, guys, the content. So I just see them like sitting there, rubbing their hands together, smirking like, oh, everyone's going to eat this up.
Yeah, it should have been more like, okay, they shouldn't have just said we're a season pass. Then when the first DLC came out, they know what's going on. This season pass is going to be for this set amount of DLCs, and we're going to have another set amount of DLCs later, and we'll have a separate season pass for that, or just increase the price at that point for everything. Zarek?
Okay, so I'm going to flash back really quick to the paid mod system on Steam, and how Bethesda or should I say, the suits, as Josh mentioned, basically negotiated this deal with Valve. And the express conditions of that deal would there be no curation. I looked back on this, and I basically realized why. They wanted, this is just a construct in my head, but I'm pretty sure they wanted to sell DLC or paid mods for Fallout 4 on their Bethesda net. Now, right now, where's Bethesda net? Where's the console modding? Where's the construction kit? I don't think we're going to see these until a little bit later because it's not profitable. As companies grow, they readdress their priorities. They have a mandated loyalty to their stockholders. And what's happening is that Bethesda is moving away from they still have the creative force, but you can see their priorities shifting, and it's the ZeniMax. I don't want to say overlords, but this is the kind of mentality we're looking at. Yes, administrators. We're looking for the max amount of profit for the least amount of effort. And if we can use some psychological trickery here, like the haves and have-nots, you're not going to have this if you don't buy it right now. So, and we're going to raise the price. It's exactly what you said. You felt compelled to buy that. And when you may have just waited and bought the DLCs later.
The console modding, the Xbox, I believe, is coming a month after the creation kit is coming out.
Yes, exactly. But we're going to see the shape it takes. We're going to see if this Bethesda net materializes. We're basically going to see everything, if it appears and when it appears in what form. But what I'm saying is that based on everything I saw from the paid mod system forward, I've seen a more corporate mentality going forward with Blizzard's upfront face in terms of what they want to do. They want to make money, and I understand that, but it just comes off as douchey to me. That's pretty much it.
Well, look at how much merchandise they're pushing out the door. Now, I will admit I am a sucker for Fallout and Bethesda merchandise. But they release so much merchandise on their store. Like I keep browsing their store. Yeah, it's exhausting. I'm like, almost every week there's a bunch of new stuff, and they're like, limited quantities. Buy now or you will miss out. And nobody wants to miss out. Nobody.
But the thing is, George Lucas, like Star Wars wouldn't have been as big as it is if he hadn't kept the merchandising rights. That was the genius move on George Lucas's part, and you'll find that merchandising is the true key to pretty much any big, long-lasting franchise. It's silly.
No, people want to own a piece of that.
When Fallout 4 was first announced, I saw that lining up with Star Wars. I'm thinking, so the gaming Star Wars and the movie Star Wars are coming out at the same time. Let's see who wins the toy wars.
Yes. What was that hashtag? Where is Ray? Because the Monopoly set didn't include Ray. That like people just go crazy for their toys.
Jeez. I wonder what corporate guy made that decision. Nobody will care about Ray as a character.
No. This was from all of Star Wars. They took they took like 1 or 2 characters from each, part of Star Wars, and Rey didn't make the cut because this was before the movie came out, and they didn't want to show her with a lightsaber, because that was a spoiler. They were still trying to trick us into thinking that the
staff was important.
No, the stormtrooper was the Jedi, because they showed the stormtrooper with the lightsaber in the trailers.
Josh?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you guys a question. Going back to the Fallout DLC, did it excite you guys? Like, what's your guys' general opinion on it?
I was happy. I'm happy they're doing more than Skyrim, which was kind of a bummer. I understand why they didn't do more DLC, because the PS3 was a pain in the sensor bar.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like they obviously had more planned, because they said there would be more than Oblivion, I believe, but like more main ones, and then less than Fallout 3. So they ultimately only put out 2 big ones, and then Sims.
Yes.
Now let me ask you guys another question, because there was something I read about this Far Harbor DLC here, where they said it's their biggest one yet, right? It's the biggest one they've ever done. Now I'm gonna assume that does not include Shivering Isles, or does it?
It does.
It does. Okay, because
Bethesda is great. It doesn't include New Vegas.
Right, not New Vegas, obviously.
Is not a DLC. Come on.
Yeah, I'm talking about Old World Blues in New Vegas.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't remember if Shivering Isles was classified as a DLC or an expansion.
Shivering Isles was considered an expansion pack, but they went back and retroactively labeled all of their expansion packs DLC. So that's not an issue anymore.
Okay.
As for that being their biggest thing ever, I'm all right with that. What I'm not all right with is the fact that it's probably going to be filled with, well, these people need your help. You need to go kill everything in that place and take 1 item.
I can't wait for that mod.
Yes, thank you. Because really, that term when they're always bragging, and open world games love to do this, where it's like, like square miles wise, it's huge, right? You can make the biggest desert in the world if you want. In the virtual world, it means nothing unless you're filling it with stuff of substance. And
I
feel
they should have made the Fallout 4 map a bit larger and just spread stuff out more, and just have some blank space where you just walk across.
Yeah,
and
Josh.
Then there's that ocean.
Josh, your point. I do Daggerfall a lot. Daggerfall to me was 1,000,000 miles wide, but a foot deep in terms of like the mechanics, because it had tons and tons of mechanics, but none of them were fleshed out nearly as much as the future games. And that's how I feel a lot of this stuff is now. It's similar to Daggerfall in that sense. Like, you're going to make it huge, but you're going to fill it with radiant quests and not things of substance. We go back to even Morrowind, Shivering Isles, pretty much Oblivion, and the quests were all thought out and meticulously planned and interesting, and more than just go here, kill that. And that's where I felt that Fallout 4 was lacking, and I really, really hope that we're going to get more Point Lookout and less Mothership Zeta.
Couldn't agree more with you. And I
actually like Mothership Zeta because of a mod associated with it.
Yes. I've seen that mod, and it's great. and I will probably plug that mod later because it's that
unfortunately,
good.
it's unfinished right now because
Yeah.
guys developing a game, which I actually interviewed, by the way. So, Josh, what were your initial thoughts on Automatron and the Wasteland Workshop?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you my thoughts on that in just a second. Let me rewind for just a moment, though, and say that I do think this is probably just a general trend with the gaming industry as a whole. This whole like getting super hyped in the marketing about the size of your world. I mean, we have to look no further than No Man's Sky and stuff and see where it, this idea where you tell gamers, oh, we just have the biggest universe, or the biggest world you've ever seen yet. Something about that must be speaking to the consumer because it's just this huge point in the marketing. Like No Man's Sky was on Colbert a couple weeks ago, which is crazy. Like gaming does not get that kind of exposure unless it's something really big. And I guess what's really big in the industry right now is just this idea of lots and lots of endless space, right?
Well,
Not
yeah.
so much the content of the space, but just wide open, randomly generated whatever.
When I saw that game, I actually thought that's going to be really boring.
Proof of concept.
Go ahead, Zerg.
EVE Online, spreadsheet simulator in space. Yet it has such a following, and it has so many people invested in its. Rather, it's an economic simulator. That it's not actually a space simulator, but it tricks people into coming for the infinite space, and then they buy ships and they buy stuff, and that's literally how they make their money is through this complex economy. It's a trap, and I'm not saying No Man's Sky is a trap, but it feels an awfully like EVE Online, and I get that trend everywhere. The only game where I haven't felt that trend of, oh, we've got a lot of space and it's filled with nothing. That was The Witcher 3. A lot of space, and it had interesting things in it.
Yeah. Oh, God. What a great game. What a great game.
I actually play Space Engineers, and it's a very pseudo No Man's Sky, and I actually tried to populate it with stuff like dropping ships from orbit and having them crash land when I tried to play it. Unfortunately, the game is somewhat unstable, and it keeps crashing on me whenever I crash a ship.
The size of your game has nothing to do with how enjoyable it is.
That's right.
Basically, if you take a giant desert and fill it up with a few interesting objects, you're still wandering around a big empty desert between looking at interesting objects.
Are we getting flashbacks, Rowan?
Well, yeah, a little bit, but
radio towers, you got.
If your game, like, let's take Fallout New Vegas, which in my opinion I put tons of hours in because I absolutely love the game to death. It's actually a fairly small game. To walk from one side of the map to the other doesn't take very much time. And once you know the map, you realize just how small the game really is.
Especially when you install a car mod.
It's very, like, interesting, like, just the depths of, like, story, the depths of quest. There's multiple ways to finish a lot of the quests, multiple ways to interact with the factions. Like, to me, that has infinite more possibilities than, like, just this big, expansive Fallout 4. Because although I still haven't actually played Fallout 4, I've been, basically sitting there with my fiance playing it and recording it. The game world, although huge, and the more we explore it, the bigger it seems to get, is just, it lacks that excitement, almost. That, ooh, there's going to be an interesting quest just around the corner, and, how are we going to solve it? It's like, well, we found a quest. Go here, pick up that object, bring it back. Yeah. Quest complete. Yay, World of Warcraft.
One of the big problems I had with Fallout 4 was I don't think they structured how they developed the game very well. Because, like I said when we did our Fallout 4 impression reviews there, Rowan, the dialogue wheel should have been designed to put voice in it, but if it ultimately failed, they could remove it and it would just have a normal thing, and then they could do the voice acting after the fact while doing story or quests like the Silver Shroud or the alien guy from the Insane Asylum.
there has been some cool quests in the game, but unfortunately, they're kind of the exception rather than the rule.
Josh, you've been quiet for a little bit.
Oh yeah, just I guess to go back and answer your question about the other two DLCs that were announced with the Far Harbor DLC. Wasteland, the Wasteland Workshop. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the impression that that's just basically, the hearth fire of Fallout 4.
Yeah.
It should have been like the full settlement mode, and that should have been the DLC added on instead of incorporated in the main game.
Yeah, this sort of thing. Yeah, the like Hearthfire, same applies there. Like when that Hearthfire thing came out, we had mods already for quite a while,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, okay, well, this does not excite me at all. And I feel like that's going to be pretty similar with the Wasteland Workshop of, I'm going to wait for the modding community to take care of this because I feel like they'll end up doing it in the long run much better, and I won't have to pay a dime for it.
That being said, with the Hearthfire thing saying it was already out and you already had mods for it, what I have realized while using mods and everything, an incorporated system being expanded upon by the developer is far easier to get adaptation from other mods, and you don't have to do compatibility patches and all that headache micromanaging. So a DLC like that is actually far better than something incorporated the system that's not widely adopted by the community.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Hearthfire, like the build your own house mod was fairly rigid. But when Hearthfire was implemented, I was able to take Jackson's positioner, reposition walls, add a throne to where the table should have been. The point is that mods can interface with DLCs a lot better than they can other mods. It's just a standard. The DLC isn't going to suddenly be updated with new content and break functionality in 12 of your other mods. They're set in stone, and I think that's where their strength is.
I was actually, when I heard that, I was actually very excited for Automatron because I've used the Build Your Own Robot mod. That mod is janky.
Yes.
And just having an incorporated system and custom voices, from what I hear, for your robots would be cool. I want to customize Codsworth because he seems more relevant to the story than that dog you just run into. I know
Yes.
it's dog meat, but still, it's a dog you just run into doesn't chew your head off.
Here's a question I want to pose to everyone. What exactly is the definitive difference between an expansion pack for the game and a DLC or potentially an add-on pack?
That is actually a good question because the whole term of gamer has been diluted so much. I don't think there is a definite definition of what that term is. For add-on, I would think Hearthfire. For expansion pack, I would think Shivering Isles. But for DLC, it's all of them.
Yes.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I think the line has been, it's kind of fuzzy now to where, yeah, Far Harbor, I bet could easily, again, if it's the size of Shivering Isles or whatever, back in the day, we would have called it an expansion pack. But I guess that line doesn't exist so much anymore, and we just call them all DLCs. At least that seems to be the buzzword that the forces have chosen.
I was going to say the bastardization of terms started with companies misusing alpha and beta terms. And, we hear beta used as a shield to protect them, early access. These words don't even have any meaning anymore. So DLC is an all-encompassing term. Expansion pack harkens back to when they actually made full quality products that simply required the original product.
And they were limited by the physical nature of the game at the time, too.
Exactly.
It feels to me like an expansion pack is something that transforms the game. For example, when you went from Diablo 2 to Diablo Lord of Destruction, the game basically transformed. Like, the amount of content that changed was staggering. You didn't have the same game anymore.
Diablo 2 was garbage. It was a horrible game. Then Lord of Destruction came out, and the game was so much better. People have rose-tinted goggles because they only played Lord of Destruction. But I was there since Diablo 1, so I can tell you that expansion packs make a difference.
What was your thoughts of Automatron from each of you guys? Josh?
I don't know. I didn't have too much of opinion on that one. Any expansion pack or any DLC, whatever, that seeks to make you more of like a resident of the world, like making your own robots. That sounds great. Customizing them, just like something like a Wasteland Workshop, where I got super into the settlement system. Let me just say that, and I know that wasn't a lot of people.
You can't
I
put a
I
door in the Springville house.
Hey, you
you
gotta
can do
show
it
us.
yeah, you could do it in the Rocket Red station. If you go to the bedroom where the computer is, you could put a door on that.
Yep. You need to show us the Tower of Josh. We need a screenshot.
The Tower of Josh.
I have much more impressive creations in Minecraft than in Fallout 4, let me tell you. But Fallout 4 and just Bethesda games in general, anything that makes me more feel like an actual resident living within the universe, and maybe that's why I got so much into the settlement system, like building settlements and things like that, and going all the way back to decorating my house in Oblivion. I remember very meticulously placing books on shelves. It took me hours to do it in my little custom home in Oblivion, because they had no system to just set books on shelves. You had to actually pick them up and do it manually. But I did it just because it made me feel. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me ask you, Josh. When you left and came back in, did the Havoc system go crazy and send your stuff flying everywhere?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
The time.
Okay, what you have to do is you have to drop stuff on the ground, then you have to leave, re-enter, and then you can position them. That's how it works.
You son of a bitch. Why do you tell me this now? It's all effed, man. It's all effed. It's in the past now.
But
Oh,
I
man.
bet you it was worth it. You sat there staring at your wall of books, and you're like, "Yeah, that was the best 8 hours of my life. Well spent there."
Zarek, what was your
Hell
opinion
yeah.
of Traumatron?
Okay. I really like the idea of building robots because I do character builds for everything I do. And one of the character builds I wanted to do like kind of a mechanist concept, and they're introducing the mechanist, so I'm thinking, damn, that's cool. That's all I gotta say is I'm underwhelmed by the scope and scale of their recent expansions, aka DLCs, but when it comes down to this particular content, I think it would enrich my Fallout 4 experience, and once the modders get a hold of it and expand it, oh goody.
Rowan?
So here's my thoughts. Back in the day, like an expansion coming out for a game, or quote now DLC, used to be several years later. Like they actually had to come up with new ideas. Like, oh my gosh, our game sold really well. People want more. Let's add on to it. This, considering how soon it's been, makes me very suspicious that a lot of this stuff could have been included in Fallout 4 base game, but they said to themselves, more money.
2 words: sliced bread. The whole game was you're insinuating the whole game was bread and then they sliced it up to sell to us?
Yep. They wanted to give us just a big enough loaf of bread that we wouldn't get mad that we didn't get, our money's worth. But they're like, hey, we have like a foot-long loaf of bread here. If we give them, 75% of that, they probably won't be too mad if we give them the rest of the bread piece by piece.
I think that's true to a degree. As for the Automatron, I'm very excited for it because I want to build my Marvin from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Saying, I'm so depressed. There was a mod that was called Marvin or Marbin. That was a dwarven colossus that was scaled down. He said sarcastic stuff. He quoted Marvin and he walked around and just clunked people on the head with his big hammer. And it was really funny, but unfortunately the DLC, it was not compatible with the expanded followers mods, which that was just an issue with Skyrim in general, and he kept breaking, so I stopped using it. But I want to do something like that because I'm so happy I could put personalities in the robot, and I want to grab that hat from Ironsides.
Yes.
The Navy hat, because I want to build my own sentry bot. What I've noticed is the Fallout games seem to be taking a little bit of a retro Avengers style. Like, you have the Silver Shroud in the game, and then there was, in the radio story, there was the Mechanist or something like him, and then in Fallout 3 there was the Anteater or the Mechanist. They're adding that all in there. It's like You're more like you're becoming a superhero in these Fallout 4 stories than Legends.
I could see that.
Josh?
Yeah, I would just like to say and point out that I feel like we're not the latest generation of Bethesda fan. If you think about it, Fallout 4 comes out and a whole new generation of kiddies grab onto the game and they're like, oh man, isn't this great? This is all I've ever known. We talk so much about, Skyrim, Oblivion, there was talk of Daggerfall. I elect that from now on, whenever we talk about past games, we got to do it in an old man voice. Back in my
Ooh.
day, I think that would be great.
When I play my Arcane Archer build for Skyrim, I always name him El Sahim. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't.
I'm not familiar.
It's the Arrow joined the League of Assassins in the Arrow show. The whole third season was pretty bad, but that name was pretty cool, so I just adopted the El Sahim name and the outfit he wears for my Skyrim character.
Nice.
Derek?
See, we're never gonna bring in the young audiences if we keep talking about old stuff like this.
Well,
We
back
gotta
in
talk
my
like the
day,
kids,
we
guys.
had Vivek, and Vivek was a living god, you see?
As for my thoughts for the set,
Yeah, you see? Yeah.
The kids these days, no respect.
technically anyone under 17 shouldn't be playing the games either, but that's a whole different can of worms. So, as for the settlement,
People are paying me, so I'm going to keep playing.
Yep. As for the settlement mod, when I saw the settlement system, I thought arranging stuff was pretty good. I wanted to decorate my own home and everything, and that should have been the base part of the game, and then expanded upon in a DLC. I used to play Space Engineers on a laptop, and I made pretty cool builds, retrofitting things, building my own worlds and everything. But when I saved and my computer overheated, the save got corrupted and I lost my builds. And the thing with the Space Engineers is you can back it up and stuff, but there's all that hassle. You also have the multiplayer component where you can share the stuff. For the Fallout 4 thing, you don't have the multiplayer component, and you also, if you do modding, like I just did with my Fox Molder build, if you remove a certain mod, the game got corrupted. So my Fox Molder 100-hour playthrough is completely corrupted, and that time I spent in Springville is now completely ruined, and I'm just cheating and building up Springville right now. A mod I think that should come out is basically you save up caps, you pay the settlement to upgrade, and they put pre-placed stuff, and then you can move it around if you want afterwards.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh, go on.
No, I was gonna say I agree. There are some people who maybe don't want to engage in the settlement building, but they want to have the benefits of it, and it's a age-old concept in Dungeons and Dragons EverQuest. Called alternative advancement, and I think that the settlement system should have its own form of alternative advancement.
Mm-hmm. The crafting perk should have been incorporated into a separate tree altogether for the settlement system. Rowan, what was your thoughts on the settlement system and the expansion DLC that was announced?
Well, I was just going to talk about, you had mentioned like the multiplayer aspect. I was just going to say, who else feels that Bethesda is going to try and do a multiplayer Fallout probably within the next 10 years?
Don't do an MMO.
Don't do an MMO.
No, but they may try and do something like, Grand Theft Auto 5 where they have online elements. I have a feeling that they're going to try because they keep doing what they see, the youngsters seem to want. And we all know that younger gamers want multiplayer. They want to be interacting with friends.
When it came to Elder Scrolls, the MMO made sense, but when it comes to Fallout, the game, there's very few people living in the world, even though they are building up after a certain time. And compared to the Elder Scrolls has magic and everything, so they can explain it with just a dragon break. With the Fallout 4, you're going to have to base it on a separate universe, and people are going to get confused, and so on. Personally, I think Fallout 4 should have had a co-op mode.
Yep.
Where you just have this guy shows up, even though he's technically a character from another world. Kind of how they did it with Fable 3. One of the few things that was good with Fable 3 is it's just this character that shows up and he runs around with you, and you have your own story between the two, and that's how it should have been done. And you're like the main host and everything, but besides that, it shouldn't be a multiplayer.
Maybe they'll do something in the future, like in Fallout 5 or Fallout 6, who knows, because they keep having the companion system, which has been around since the original Fallout game. where people can hop in, a la, trying to think what games I've seen that, but you basically hop in and control a companion.
Oh, let me tell you something. There's projects right now to basically build a new version of Fallout 3's executable. And the reason for this is because what they want to do is they want to do kind of like Tales of Two Wastelands, but they want it to be open source. And this has already been done with Morrowind. Open Morrowind is about 2 months from being complete. There is a cooperative mod already underway because, you know, an open source project, anyone can just grab the code and do what they want with it. There's a cooperative mod already underway for Open Morrowind. And it's just a matter of time until we see Fallout New Vegas co-op completely out of the box supported, not janky. You know, and so we look at these older games and like the community is taking the time to actually remake the games from scratch. You know, they're reusing the assets, obviously, but I mean the actual code and everything. And if they're doing that much effort, clearly there's a demand in the new generation games for these things.
I'd actually be willing to play the Morrowind one with you, Zerk. You'd have to teach me how to play the game, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Josh?
Oh yeah, I love the idea. Back what Rowan said of having, you know, I've had buddies sit on the couch next to me while I'm playing Fallout 4, and I have these just computer-controlled companions. It'd be great if they could just temporarily take over the companion. You know, they would have no impact on the story. Like they wouldn't be able to make dialogue options
or trade with vendors or anything, or you'd have a share
Right, they're just, I could see them as like a guest in my world, because I will say this, in Bethesda games, I'm very protective of my world. I want it to be mine and mine alone, but I would be willing to accept a guest every now and then would be cool.
Has anyone played Elder Scrolls Travel's Shadowkey?
No, I've never even heard of it.
It is the only Elder Scrolls game to feature co-op out of the box. The idea is that you play with the end gauge. It only works on the end gauge. You can't even emulate the game. Anyway, so basically, you are able to join someone else's world. What happens is you are considered a nameless adventurer. If you try to talk to an NPC, they don't really want, like, you know, go bother someone else, adventurer, basically. and the idea is that the main character has been summoned to this particular town by the regional lord in order to deal with something. So he's the hero, and you're all just nameless adventurers who are journeying with him. You get to take your loot with you, but keeping in mind that like the loot is duplicated for him. So you don't actually steal anything from their world, but you benefit on your characters, and you can take that loot back with you, provided it's not story based. Like the shadow keys, which are the main parts of the story, aren't transferable, but you know, as you can help them along their journey regardless, and just have fun playing together.
That's funny you say that, because it is a Bethesda game, isn't it?
I don't know who made it actually. I don't think it's Bethesda. I think it was just licensed out.
Well, if that's the case, Bethesda says they tried to do a multiplayer spreadsheet thing before they made the game, and they turned it down. That concept is basically what I'm thinking, where character just shows up and helps you out and then disappears, or takes control of your companion.
Yeah, Battlespire had deathmatch, and that didn't turn out too well. I have to tell you that right now. It was pretty bad. So Bethesda's one real attempt at multiplayer didn't turn out too well.
Yeah. So any exiting thoughts on the Settlement DLC?
In terms of okay.
I was just go on first.
Okay, in terms of the Settlement DLC, I just think that, you know, if it's just more items or more placeable things or, you know, stuff like that, we've already got that. Mods have it covered. What I want to see are actual new systems that can be built upon. Mm-hmm. Please, new systems. That's all.
Rowan?
I am underwhelmed. I will have to wait to see until it actually comes out, and if it actually like transforms the game. I want to like it, but I'm still skeptical at this point.
Josh?
I'm with Zarek as far as empowering the modding community in any possible way you can with any of these DLC things, where you put in systems that just enhance the modding community and give them the power to continue doing the awesome work that they do.
And if the mod that's created on it depends on it, then that means the person has to buy it to use it. So more money to them. So I guess we'll talk a little bit more last 10 minutes about DLCs we want to see forward. Personally, what I want to look forward is when you walked into Concord, you saw that spreadsheet with the Battle of the Moon. I want to go to the moon.
I would even accept a lounger, you know, one of those tranquil loungers, so we can redo the Battle of the Moon. I'd be fine with that. I would be fine with that. Yeah. Like, which Fallout 3 DLC was it where we went in the lounger and did the old war, the Great War?
Anchorage.
Anchorage, yeah. I would be fine with another Anchorage, this time taking us to the moon. But I'd also like to see something involving the aliens, because they dropped another alien spaceship here, damn it.
I want to know what happened to the Zeta ship after the DLC. Did the guy, Lone Warrior create his own faction? Did the Brotherhood unfortunately get a hold of it? Please no. Or did they just get destroyed up because it was too dangerous?
What about you, Josh?
Oh gosh, my favorite quest line still in Fallout 4 so far is that Dunwich Borer's place where you went underground in the mine. Oh my god, love that.
Cool.
Anything like cult related where they mess with the lighting, I'll take any more of that.
Hold on.
Some more supernatural stuff.
Hold on. Okay, well, how about this? There's going to be a mutant, okay? It's like, it is not actually supernatural, it's like a mutant, but these cultists have come in and started worshiping as like a Cthulhu-esque god, although it really is just a radiation mutant. And, you know, we get this kind of duality there. Is it mystical? Is it not? Are we going to help them, or are we going to kill them? You know, that's what I would go for in terms of what Josh was talking about, in terms of, like, you know, bringing in that Lovecraftian theme.
I fully support what you guys are saying there. More like some of the best parts of the Fallout universe are the like creepy, you know, weird kind of almost horror-ish elements, like the stuff with the Dunwich, as you said, the Salem Museum of Witchcraft. I mean, although it wasn't like anything supernatural, just the horror buildup that you feel was pretty sweet.
They really should have had a witch-based thing in Salem.
Yeah.
I still kind of liked what they did, though. It was well done in the execution. But definitely more like Point Lookout type stuff, horror-esque.
Yep.
You know, and another thing I'd like to see is either a nod to Fallout 3, where maybe you go to a location in the Capital Wasteland, or maybe even a nod to Fallout New Vegas, where you revisit a location out there. Just kind of...
You mean a buried alien city in the Mojave Desert?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Better yet, I want a DLC. I'm changing my answer. Sorry. I want a DLC where I hijack one of those UFOs, fly it to Nern, because obviously they're in the same universe. And I'm gonna go to going to Akavir. I'm going to Akavir. That's my DLC. That's what I want. Thank you.
The only other thing I want to see is I want to go to Canada.
Canada, yeah.
Blame Canada. Blame Canada.
Yeah. Josh is going to cause a dragon break, and we're going to have to deal with another all endings are canon bullshit.
Hey, as long as it doesn't happen too often, I'm fine with that showing up every occasion. That's going to have to happen to the Dragon Age franchise after like the 5th game or so.
Maybe Canada is Nern. Think about that one.
All right. Any thoughts, or do you want to take the break now?
Well,
break would be fine.
Yeah, all I gotta say is that Fallout 4 in general, I'm looking forward to the DLCs, but my goodness, Bethesda, please, less Hearthfire, more Dragonborn, less Mothership Zeta, more Point Lookout. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my dogs.
Break time.
Yep, break time.
Yeah, break time.